The bass from Drake's latest track pulsed through Euphoria's walls as Kim Min-jun descended the grand staircase with Han Hye-jin on his arm, her blood-red Valentino gown flowing like spilled wine. The engagement ring on her finger, 3 carats from Tiffany & Company, caught every strobe light, a flawless symbol of everything his empire demanded. Alliance, power, legacy. Everything except truth. The photographer wants us for pictures in 10 minutes. Hye-jin's voice drifted through his awareness, sweet as poisoned honey. Near the champagne tower. Instagram-worthy, don't you think? Min-jun nodded mechanically, his Rolex Daytona gleaming as he adjusted his Ford Tufts. Around them, Los Angeles's elite mingled with Seoul's underground royalty. Celebrities sipped Clase Azul tequila beside men who'd ordered executions before breakfast. Normal chaos. Controlled danger. The life he'd been born into and mastered. Then his head of security whispered urgently in Korean through his Bose earpiece. Boss, basement. Now. Something in the man's voice made Min-jun's blood run cold. A tone reserved for catastrophes, for wars, for the kind of problems that couldn't be solved with money or violence alone. He followed the security team down the concrete stairs, his Ferragamo dress shoes echoing in the narrow passage, Hye-jin's Louboutins clicking impatiently behind him. The VIP basement was supposed to be empty tonight, reserved for later. But as they pushed through the steel door, Min-jun's world tilted violently off its axis. There, under the harsh fluorescent lights, bound to metal chairs with industrial zip ties, faces bruised and bloodied, sat 2 women who should never occupy the same space. His mother, Kim Ji-yeon, the iron matriarch who'd built half his empire with ruthless precision, her Chanel suit torn, her dignified composure shattered into raw terror. And beside her, Ruth Jones. Time stopped. His heart slammed against his ribs so hard he wondered if Hye-jin could hear it crack. Ruth. The woman he'd destroyed 3 years ago with words designed to annihilate. The woman whose iPhone voicemails he'd deleted without listening. The woman he'd walked away from in his Maserati while she screamed his name in a parking lot, collapsing to her knees. Her dark skin was marked with bruises, natural hair matted with dried blood, wearing simple jeans and a ripped Target t-shirt, so different from the designer clothes he used to buy her. But it was her eyes that gutted him. No fear. No pleading. Just cold, bottomless hatred that burned hotter than any bullet he'd ever taken. For a heartbeat, they stared at each other across 3 years of lies and silence and grief so profound it had its own gravity. Then his mother spoke in Korean, voice cracking. She played you, Min-jun. She played us all. Min-jun stood frozen, his mind reeling, trying to process the impossible scene. Ruth bound beside his mother. Both terrorized. Both trapped in his club on his night, wearing his victory like a noose. Behind him, Hye-jin's Samsung Galaxy buzzed. Once. Twice. 3 times. He turned slowly, dread pooling in his gut like poison. Welcome to the channel, family. If you're already hooked by this dark mafia romance, you're in the right place. Help me prove something wrong. My mum said I would not get any subscribers, but I believe stories like this deserve to be told. Help me show her that these tales matter. Click the subscribe button. His fiancée stood in the doorway, perfect MAC Russian red lipstick curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She held her phone up, screen glowing. A timer counted down, 18 minutes 42 seconds. The FBI will be here in 20 minutes, Hye-jin said softly, her voice stripped of its usual sweetness, revealing something sharp and cruel beneath. Choose wisely, my love. Your empire or your secrets. Your future or your past. She glanced at Ruth, then at his mother. Though I suppose they're the same thing now, aren't they? Ruth spat blood at his feet and whispered, her voice raw. I hope you burn, Min-jun. I hope you burn for what you did. Then his mother dropped the bomb that detonated his entire world. The baby was real, Min-jun. Ruth was pregnant when you destroyed her. The room spun. The bass from upstairs became a death march. Min-jun's iPhone 15 Pro rang in his pocket, the vibration feeling like an execution order. He answered without thinking. Agent Marcus Reed's voice came through calm and final. Kim Min-jun, this is the FBI. We're outside in our black Chevy Suburbans with tactical teams. You have 10 minutes to decide if you walk out as a witness or a defendant. The choice has always been yours. But tonight it ends. Min-jun looked at Ruth, the woman he'd loved and ruined. At his mother, The woman who'd raised him to be a monster. At Hygiene, the woman who'd orchestrated it all. The math was simple and devastating. He'd been played. They'd all been played. And now, with the FBI closing in and his past literally bound at his feet, Kim Min-jun finally understood. The empire he'd built on lies was about to collapse. And he was standing at ground zero. Min-jun's hands shook as he pulled the switchblade from his Tom Ford jacket, sawing through the zip ties binding his mother's wrists. Above them, Euphoria's bass pounded like a countdown to hell. His security chief's voice crackled through his earpiece. Boss, multiple black Suburbans. FBI vest. They're setting up a perimeter. Hygiene had vanished like smoke. Faster, his mother hissed in Korean, blood dripping from her split lip. Min-jun moved to Ruth, their eyes locking as the blade touched the plastic restraints. Up close, he saw the scar on her collarbone, the one from the Tiffany necklace he'd ripped off her neck that final night. 3 years ago, Nobu Malibu. Hygiene had slid her iPad across the table between California rolls and Aperol spritzes, her voice honey-sweet with manufactured concern. I didn't want to show you this, but... Photos of Ruth meeting men in parking lots. Bank of America statements showing mysterious deposits. $15,000, $23,000, $40,000. Audio of Ruth's voice. He's so easy to manipulate. The idiot actually believes I love him. Min-jun had felt his world crack open. Where did you get this? Does it matter? Hygiene's hand covered his. She's working with your enemies, Min-jun. If you don't end this brutally, she'll destroy everything you've built. You have to make her believe she meant nothing. So he had. God help him, he had. The zip ties snapped. Ruth pulled her hands free, rubbing circulation back into her wrists. I was meeting with a pregnancy counselor at Cedarsea, she said, her voice like shattered glass. Those deposits? My mother's MetLife life insurance policy after she died of cancer. The audio? I was venting to my therapist about my ex before you, but someone spliced it, didn't they? Min-jun's stomach dropped into free fall. Ruth. I was 8 weeks pregnant when you told me I was ghetto trash playing dress up in your world. When you said our relationship was you slumming it with the help. Her hand moved to her abdomen. I miscarried in a Walmart bathroom 4 days later. Alone. Bleeding out next to discount toilet paper. His mother's voice cut through, cold as winter in Seoul. I knew the evidence was fabricated. Hygiene showed me first. But the Han family alliance would save us from bankruptcy. So I stayed silent. Ruth's laugh was broken, terrible. You both killed my baby. Then she stood, reached into her yoga pants and pulled out a Glock 19. Now let's discuss what happens next. The basement door exploded inward. FBI. Hands where we can see them. Agent Marcus Reed stormed down the stairs, AR-15 raised, tactical vest emblazoned with yellow letters that seemed to glow in the fluorescent light. Behind him, Agent Sarah Chin and a 6-man team fanned out with military precision. Min-jun grabbed his mother's arm, yanking her toward the wine cellar. Move. Ruth hesitated, gun still in hand, then followed. Behind rows of Chateau Margaux worth more than most people's houses, Min-jun triggered the hidden panel. The tunnel yawned open, his grandfather's old smuggling route. They ran through darkness, emergency lights casting everything in blood red. Above, boots thundered. Voices shouted coordinates. Then Chen's voice, close enough to touch. Kim Min-jun, we know you're down here. Min-jun pushed the women behind him, emerging near the Grey Goose display where the tunnel connected to the main cellar. Chin stood alone, iPhone in hand, expression unreadable. 3 years, she said. That's how long we've been building the case against you. Money laundering, racketeering, conspiracy. We have everything. She smiled. Thanks to our informant. Hygiene, Min-jun spat. She played us all. No. Chin turned her phone around. Security footage showed Ruth 6 months ago wearing a wire beneath a jacket, walking through his downtown warehouse. Different footage. Ruth in a rented Toyota Camry, photographing shipping containers. Ruth meeting Chin in a Starbucks, sliding a flash drive across the table. The world tilted. Min-jun spun toward Ruth, who'd emerged from the shadows. You, he breathed. You've been destroying me. Ruth's eyes were hollow victories. You want to know what happens when you break someone completely? They stop being afraid of you. She stepped closer and he saw she was trembling. I lost our daughter because of the stress from your words. I bled out in a Walmart bathroom alone, clutching a Carter's onesie I'd bought that morning, pink with little elephants. It cost $8.99 on my Visa card. That's what our baby was worth in the end. Ruth. So yes, I became a rat. I gave them everything. Shipment schedules on Google Maps. Money laundering operations in Excel spreadsheets. Every dirty supplier's name. I've been inside your rebuilt world for 2 years, destroying it piece by piece. Her Fitbit caught the emergency light, FBI tracking her every move. And I'd do it again. Before Minjun could respond, Hyejine's voice crackled through the Bose sound system, poisonously sweet. Minjun, I'm at your Calabasas safe house. You remember, where you keep your real books on that Dell laptop. The FBI will love what I'm about to send them via Gmail. Unless you meet me at the port of LA in 2 hours. Come alone or I upload everything. The line went dead. Chen's radio exploded with chatter. Suspect on the move, black Mercedes heading west. Minjun looked at Ruth, at his mother, at the FBI agent between him and freedom. Choose, Chen said. In the tunnel's crushing darkness, Minjun inhaled the contradictory scents of his mother's Chanel No. 5 mingling with decay and copper-tinged blood. Her whisper cut through the suffocating air. 5 years ago, you executed Han Tae-young for stealing from us. The memory surged forward. The Koreatown warehouse, the bitter taste of betrayal, the single bullet's finality. He wasn't a thief, his mother continued, her voice fracturing. He was collecting evidence of your father's human trafficking ring on a SanDisk flash drive we never recovered. He paused, letting the revelation settle. His sister Hyejin witnessed everything through Nikon binoculars from across the street. She watched you pull the trigger. The tunnel walls seemed to close in. That's impossible. She's dedicated 5 years to your destruction, his mother interrupted. The Beverly Hills Art Gallery where you first met? Orchestrated. Every moat champagne celebration, every sweet green lunch where she poisoned your perception of Ruth, every carefully crafted encounter at Soho House, meticulously planned. The men Ruth supposedly cheated with? Actors compensated through Venmo under fabricated identities. Overhead glass detonated. Automatic weapons fire erupted, not the controlled precision of FBI raids, but the savage chaos of cartel warfare. Chen's urgent voice crackled through communications. She tipped them off. Encrypted WhatsApp message. Rival cartels storming the club. Minjun forced Ruth and his mother deeper into the tunnel as the wine cellar transformed into an inferno of violence. Belvedere vodka bottles exploded like improvised grenades. Sony flat screens sparked violently before dying. He scrambled toward the Steinway piano as bullets shredded velvet upholstery and splintered wood. Reed's authoritative voice cut through. Kim's attempting escape, not confrontation, provide defensive support. The contradiction struck him. Why would the FBI protect him now? Then he spotted the cartel soldier AR-15 aimed at his skull, finger contracting on the trigger. The gunshot originated from behind. The man collapsed. Minjun pivoted. Ruth stood silhouetted in the emergency lighting's crimson wash. Smith & Wesson still smoking, FBI wire exposed beneath her torn target shirt. Chen's voice transmitted through her body camera. Jones, explain your actions. Ruth's expression remained inscrutable. Protecting my intelligence asset. Yet her trembling hands betrayed her composure. And there, beneath her Fitbit tracker, gleamed the Pandora bracelet he'd given her 3 years earlier, the one she'd claimed to have destroyed. They fled through tunnels constructed for forgotten purposes, reaching his underground garage where the Mercedes G-Wagon idled, engine warming. His mother pressed cold metal keys into his palm, her Louis Vuitton purse abandoned on concrete. Stop her, she commanded in Korean. And if opportunity permits, tell Ruth I'm sorry I prioritized wealth over her unborn child. Minutes later they raced down the 110 freeway, sirens screaming in pursuit. Ruth occupied the passenger seat, weapon now trained on his ribs. Drive to the port, she ordered, voice emotionless. But understand, I'm not rescuing you. I'm concluding this personally. Her finger remained poised on the trigger. The Pandora bracelet captured passing streetlights, flashing like accusations. She'd preserved it. Despite everything, The betrayals, the lies, the devastation, she'd kept it. Stop here. Ruth's voice cut through the Mercedes's engine hum as they passed a 7-Eleven on Wilshire. The gun never wavered from Min-jun's ribs. He pulled into the fluorescent-lit parking lot. Ruth disappeared inside, returning with a Red Bull and Arizona iced tea. Cash only, no trace. Old habits from living off-grid. She climbed back in, popped the Red Bull, and the dam finally broke. I named her Jial, Ruth whispered. Wisdom and kindness. Everything I hoped she'd have that we didn't. Her hand pressed against her abdomen, remembering. 22 weeks. Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. She lived for 4 hours. Long enough for me to hold her. Long enough to see she had your eyes. Min-jun's throat closed. I buried her at Forest Lawn with money borrowed from my aunt. The casket was from Costco, $200, the smallest they had. I carried it myself because I couldn't afford the service. She laughed, broken. I called you 47 times that day on my Verizon phone. You'd blocked my number. Ruth. Drive to Forest Lawn. Now. Rain started as they pulled through the cemetery gates. They walked to a corner plot, Ruth in her soaked Nike hoodie, Min-jun's Armani suit dissolving in the downpour. The headstone was tiny, simple. Ja Kim Jones, too beautiful for earth. This is where your cruelty lives, Ruth said. In this plot that's 3 feet long. Every time Hygiene kissed you with that Dior lipstick, every time you smiled at another Alliance dinner, this is what she destroyed. This is what you destroyed. Min-jun fell to his knees in the mud. If I could trade places with her, I would. God, Ruth, if I could go back. But you can't. That's the point. She pulled out her iPhone, hands shaking, and showed him a photo. A tiny hand, perfect fingers, each nail no bigger than a grain of rice. She had your fingernails. I noticed that first. Even dying, she was half you. Above them, a drone's mechanical were cut through the rain. Ruth's FBI-issued Samsung rang. She answered on speaker. Jones, we have your location via GPS. Reed's voice was granite. Bring him in now, or you're an accessory to flight. Ruth looked at the grave, at Min-jun at the phone. We're going to the port. Ruth. He has information on Han Hygiene. She's the real target. Give me 2 hours. She ended the call. Pulled a Cliff Bar from her bag and tossed it to Min-jun. You'll need your strength. As they sped toward the port of Los Angeles, past Maersk containers and Chinese shipping crates, Hygiene's voice purred through Min-jun's AirPods. Warehouse 17. 10 minutes. Oh, and Min-jun? I'm not alone. Say hello to your father. In the distance, headlights cut through the rain. A black Cadillac Escalade with tinted windows. Min-jun's father had been dead for 2 years. Hadn't he? If you're still here after that emotional gut punch, drop a comment below and let me know. Are you Team Ruth or Team Min-jun? Hit subscribe if you're invested in this story. Now let's see what happens at the port. Warehouse 17 reeked of salt water and rust. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like dying insects. And there, sitting in a metal chair as if he'd never left the world of the living, was Kim Dae-young, Min-jun's father. Dead 2 years in a California prison riot. Except he wasn't dead. He looked older, grayer, but the Marlboro between his fingers and the cruel smile were exactly as Min-jun remembered. Surprised. Dae-young's voice echoed through the empty space. Corrupt guards, cryptocurrency on Coinbase, and a body that wasn't mine. Tijuana's been comfortable. You, Min-jun couldn't breathe. Hygiene found me on dark web forums. Smart girl. She offered me a deal. Help destroy you and your mother, take back what's mine. He stood, producing a bottle of Jack Daniels. Drink with me, son. Min-jun's hand moved to his concealed weapon. How long have you been planning this? Since you disgraced us by falling for that. Dae-young gestured dismissively at Ruth. You made our family look soft. Marrying a black American girl would have destroyed our reputation in Seoul. Hygiene saved you from yourself. She manipulated me into destroying an innocent woman. She saved you from weakness. The warehouse exploded into violence. Dae-young's men emerged from behind shipping containers, AK-47s barking fire. Min-jun grabbed Ruth, diving behind wooden crates stamped with Amazon Prime logos. Bullets shredded cardboard and wood. Ruth returned fire with her Smith & Wesson, FBI training evident in every controlled burst. Min-jun fought with street-learned brutality, each movement honed by years of survival. They moved as one, predicting each other's movements, covering angles, breathing in sync despite 3 years of hatred between them. A gunman appeared. Minjun threw himself in front of Ruth, taking 2 rounds in his shoulder. Blood bloomed across his white Gucci shirt. "You idiot." Ruth dragged him behind a forklift, hands pressing against his wounds. She'd seen him change, seen him break. But did it matter? Above them something glinted. Hygiene stood on the catwalk, GoPro camera in hand, smile victorious. Every second recorded. "You murdering your father's men in cold blood. The FBI will love this via Dropbox." Minjun ripped open a Poland Spring water bottle, pouring it over Ruth's bleeding arm. His hands shook. "If we die here, I need you to know. Loving you was the only real thing I ever did. I'm sorry I was too broken to protect it." Ruth grabbed duct tape from a Home Depot roll nearby, wrapping her wound. "I don't forgive you." Her eyes met his. "But I believe you." They kissed through blood and gunpowder and 3 years of grief. Desperate, violent, wrong, necessary. It tasted like blood and chapstick and everything they'd lost. FBI helicopter searchlights flooded the warehouse. Chen's voice through a megaphone. "Kim Minjun, Han Hyjin, Kim Deung, surrounded. Release hostages, hands up." Hygiene's laugh echoed. "Hostages." She adjusted her Apple Watch. "Ruth's the FBI informant. She's no hostage." Chen's face went white with betrayal. Above them red laser dots appeared. Cartel snipers on the roof. The warehouse became a powder keg of conflicting armies. FBI SWAT vans surrounded the perimeter, searchlights crisscrossing like prison bars. Inside, cartel members leaned against shipping containers drinking Corona beers, AK-47s slung casual over shoulders. Hygiene stood on the catwalk, taser in one hand, phone in the other. Dae-young crept toward a side exit. And Ruth, exposed, bleeding, career destroyed, stood frozen in the crossfire. "Listen carefully," Reed's voice boomed through the PA system. "Nobody else has to die tonight." Hygiene laughed, holding up her iPhone 14 Pro. "Full immunity and $50 million in Bitcoin to my Ledger Nano X wallet. Minjun has the access codes." She tapped her screen. "Oh, and say hi to my 47,000 Instagram live viewers. This is going viral." Comments flooded the livestream. Police sirens wailed outside. Dae-young made his move, gun rising toward Minjun's head. "I'm taking back what's mine, starting with your life." Minjun caught his wrist. Father and son crashed into shipping containers filled with counterfeit Nike shoes and PlayStation 5s, boxes exploding around them. Dae-young fought with prison-learned brutality. Minjun fought for something he'd never fought for before, the right to atone. Ruth watched them trying to kill each other. Her FBI-issued Glock was empty. She could let nature take its course. Let the monsters destroy each other. But then she saw Jia's grave in her mind. That tiny plot. That wasted love. She grabbed a crowbar from a DeWalt toolbox and swung hard, connecting with Dae-young's knee. The crack echoed. He dropped, screaming. "That's for Jia," Ruth said, voice shaking. "My daughter deserved a better grandfather than you." Chen's voice crackled through her earpiece. "Ruth, you just committed assault. I have to bring you in too." Minjun struggled to his feet, blood soaking through his clothes. He raised his Apple Watch Ultra, tapping the screen with crimson fingers. "I've been recording everything. Every confession. Every conspiracy." He looked at Reed through the shattered window. "Airdrop. Ruth gets full immunity or you get nothing." Reed's iPhone pinged. His expression changed as he listened to Hygiene's voice admitting to fabricating evidence, orchestrating murders, planning revenge for 5 years. Hygiene's face went pale beneath her Fenty Beauty foundation. "You." Then she smiled. Held up her phone. "Backup plan." On screen, a detonator app. Red numbers counting down. C4 explosives rigged throughout the warehouse. "If I'm going down, we all go down. FBI, back those black Suburbans up. 60 seconds. Hygiene, don't." Minjun lunged for the phone. Gunshot. Ruth's backup pistol, the one she'd tucked in her ankle holster, smoking. Hygiene stumbled. The phone flew from her hands, spinning through the air. Minjun dove, catching it mid-flight, hurling it toward an empty shipping container. 5 seconds. The explosion ripped through the warehouse. Everything went black. Silence. Then Reed's voice, distant and desperate. Get the medics. Now. The explosion had been contained, barely. Minjun's desperate throw had sealed the iPhone inside a shipping container that absorbed most of the blast. Metal twisted like origami. Evidence incinerated. But lives spared. Hyejin was dragged out in handcuffs, screaming in Korean, "He murdered my brother. He murdered Taeyoung." Her Balenciaga dress hung in shreds, designer fabric soaked in ash and defeat. FBI agents didn't care about her explanations. Taeyoung left on a stretcher, leg shattered, handcuffed to the gurney. He didn't look at Minjun. Not once. Minjun collapsed as paramedics swarmed. Shoulder wound, blood loss, possible internal injuries. They hooked him to N4 in the ambulance, agents surrounding him with Glocks drawn like he might somehow escape while dying. At USC Medical Center they handcuffed him to the hospital bed. The morphine made everything soft and distant, but he still saw Ruth through the door's window. Also handcuffed, wearing hospital scrubs. Someone had found her, drinking coffee from a styrofoam cup. She looked small, fragile. Nothing like the warrior who'd saved his life. Agent Reed entered, pulling up a chair. "You're going to live. Lucky you." He placed a folder on the bedside table. "Here's your choice. Full cooperation, testify against everyone including your mother, witness protection if necessary. 15 years minimum. Or we go to trial and you die in prison." Through the window Ruth's eyes met his. "I'll cooperate," Minjun said. "One condition." Reed waited. "Ruth Jones gets full immunity. Witness protection if she wants it. And access to the $2 million in my private Chase account." He swallowed past the pain. "Payment for Gia. The daughter I never met." Reed spoke into his FBI Motorola radio, consulting supervisors. Minutes stretched. Finally, agreed. Ruth's handcuffs came off. An hour later, as agents loaded Minjun into a Ford Explorer for transfer to federal holding, they gave him 30 seconds. Ruth stood in the hospital parking lot wearing borrowed scrubs, arms wrapped around herself against the October cold. "Why did you give me the money?" she asked. "Because our daughter deserved to be protected." Minjun's voice cracked. "I failed her. I won't fail her memory. What happens now? I pay for what I did. And you?" He looked at her. Really looked, maybe for the first time since that night at Nobu when he'd believed Hyejin's lies. "You get to live free. That's all I want for you." Ruth removed her FBI visitor badge, handed it to Chin. She whispered something to Reed that Minjun couldn't hear. Then the agents closed the SUV door. Minjun watched through tinted glass as Ruth grew smaller, standing alone in the parking lot, one hand pressed against her abdomen where their daughter had once grown. The vehicle pulled away. 6 months later. FCI Terminal Island smelled like industrial cleaner and despair. Minjun wore an orange jumpsuit that erased every trace of the man who'd once commanded empires in Tom Ford suits. His regulation haircut made him look younger, more vulnerable. Inmate 84,729 to 112. His testimony had dismantled 3 major crime syndicates. His mother was serving 20 years at FCI Dublin. Hyejin got life without parole at FPC Alderson. His father got 40 years and would die behind bars. Minjun's cell was 6 by 8 feet. He read books Ruth had once recommended from the prison library. The Count of Monte Cristo felt different now that he understood what it meant to lose everything. He worked out with basic equipment, ate commissary ramen noodles and Snickers bars, showered with Irish Spring soap. He didn't expect forgiveness. He didn't expect visitors. So when the guard said, "Kim visitation," he assumed it was his public defender. It was Ruth. She looked different. Healthier. Her natural hair was in braids and she wore a simple Nike tracksuit. She'd gained weight in a way that made her glow. Through the plexiglass he could see she'd been taking care of herself. They sat. Picked up the phone handsets. Around them, other inmates spoke Spanish and English and Korean to their families. The room buzzed with fractured connections. Silence stretched between them like scar tissue. Finally, "Ruth, I don't forgive you. I don't know if I ever will." She took a breath. "But I've been seeing a therapist through BetterHelp and she asked what I needed for closure. I realized I needed to look you in the eye and ask, did you love me? Or was I just rebellion? A phase." Minjun's tears came without permission. "I loved you more than I knew how to handle. I loved you so much it terrified me. When Hygiene showed me that evidence on her iPad, part of me wanted to believe it because love that big means you can lose everything. I was a coward. Ruth pulled out a Kleenex tissue, dabbing her eyes. I wanted to hate you forever. It was easier. But then I realized I was letting you control my life even from prison. So I'm here to tell you I'm letting go. Not for you. For me. For Jia. Will you come back? Ruth stood, adjusting her Michael Kors purse. I don't know. Maybe. Ask me in 5 years. She turned at the door. The money you gave me? I started a foundation in Jia's name. We help single mothers in crisis. Target gift cards, baby supplies from Bye Bye Baby rent assistance. Thank you for that. As she walked away she stopped. Back. Just for a moment. Not forgiveness. Not love. But maybe the possibility of peace. Ruth drove away in her Honda Accord, Jhené Aiko playing through Spotify. Her phone buzzed, her therapist checking in. She smiled, stopped at Whole Foods. In his cell, Minjun held a photo Ruth had left with the guard. Jia's ultrasound laminated at Office Depot. On the back in Sharpe, she had your eyes. Maybe that's why I couldn't hate you completely. He pressed it to his chest and finally, for the first time in 3 years, let himself grieve. 2 years in Terminal Island had turned Minjun into someone unrecognizable. He'd earned his GED through Khan Academy courses, taught ESL to other inmates using donated Rosetta Stone materials, became the model prisoner guards pointed to during inspections. He drank Folger's instant coffee from commissary and crossed days off his calendar. 13 years to go. Maybe 11 with good behavior. He hadn't heard from Ruth in 18 months. Then the letter arrived. USPS envelope, Ruth's handwriting, he'd recognize those loops and curves anywhere. Inside, Hallmark stationery that smelled faintly of her perfume. I've been to Jia's grave every month. Last week I brought someone with me, a grief counselor from UCLA who helped me process everything. She asked what I'd say to you if you were there. I said I'd tell you that pain doesn't have an expiration date, but it does eventually learn to share space with other things. Like hope. Like purpose. Like the possibility that broken people can become better, even if they can't become whole. I'm writing to tell you I'm getting married. His name is David. He's a teacher at a public school. He's kind. He drives a Toyota Prius and clips coupons from CVS. He knows everything about you, about Jia, about my past. He doesn't try to fix me. I wanted you to hear it from me because, despite everything, you were my first love. And you gave me Jia even if only for 4 hours. I'll never forget that. I'll never forgive what came after. But I can hold both truths now. I hope you find peace, Minjun. Really. Not for me. For the man you could have been. A photo fell out, Ruth at Jia's grave holding roses from Trader Joe's. She looked happy. Whole. Minjun sat on his thin mattress, hands shaking. He pulled out prison-issue paper and a Bic pen. Thank you for telling me. David sounds like the man I should have been. I'm happy you found someone who knows how to protect what he loves. Tell Jia's memory that her father is trying to be better. It's too late for you, for her, for us. But maybe not too late for me to mean something. That's all I've got left. Be happy, Ruth. You earned it. He paid for the stamp from his commissary account. Sent it knowing she might never respond. 3 weeks later, Ruth received his letter at her Inglewood apartment. She read it once while drinking Lipton tea, cried, then placed it in a shoebox with Jia's ultrasound, the hospital bracelet, and a Polaroid from Venice Beach, before everything shattered. She put the box on her closet shelf next to her Converse shoes. Not forgetting. Not forgiving. Just done. David made breakfast, Eggo waffles and Folgers coffee. He kissed her forehead. Life went on. She posted on Instagram, a sunset photo, no caption. In prison, Minjun crossed another day off his calendar with a Sharpe. 4,745 days to go. He picked up The Count of Monte Cristo, Dover Thrift Edition, and began to read under fluorescent lights. He ate commissary Oreos. The cycle of revenge ended. The work of becoming human began. In the distance, someone's radio played a song they used to love. Minjun closed his eyes and, for just a moment, remembered what it felt like to be loved without conditions. And that's where their story ends. Or does it? If this dark mafia romance left you breathless, destroyed, or wanting more, smash that like button and subscribe. I've got more twisted love stories coming your way. Drop a comment and let me know. Would you ever forgive Minjun? And where are you watching from? Your girl wants to know. Don't forget to hit the notification bell because my next video drops soon, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. Until then, remember, some love stories don't get happy endings, they get real ones. See you in the next one, fam. Peace.